Hello there YouTube, it's your boy B3, back with another kicking manga review. Today we are reviewing a manga that we've been working our way through for quite a while. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist, Volume 8, Yugi vs. Pegasus. Yeah, that's from Shonen Jump, story and art by Kazuki Takahashi. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist, Volume 8, Yugi vs. Pegasus. Last time I feel like we spent a lot more time on the book than we usually do. Volume 7 I think was our most in-depth yet. We reviewed... So here in the States, the main Yu-Gi-Oh! Title is actually split up into 3 different runs. It's all one big thing in Japan, but here it's Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is the stuff that's like not dual monsters. There's like 2 dual monster stories and that's it. But it's like a bunch of other games, some fictional, some just kind of like games of chance, just simple wagers, but they go in crazy ways. And then there's Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist, which is what we're on now. Which is pretty much just what's covered by the anime. It's Duelist Kingdom and Battle City. None of the filler. And then the third one is Yu-Gi-Oh! Millennium World, which is all the ancient Egypt backstory stuff, learning who the pharaoh is. There's still games in it, but not as specific and intricate games as you see here. It's more like spirit battles. But yeah, I have read all the way to the end of Millennium World, and we've reviewed all of the OG Yu-Gi-Oh! And now we're working our way through Duelist. Yes, and I'm very happy about that. So this one begins right after Joey, or Jonichi, specifically Katsuya Jonoichi, I believe is his actual full name, defeats the former U.S. champion, Bandit Keith. Fuck Bandit Keith. I actually did a big deep dive into Volume 7 because the duel between Joey and Bandit Keith is incredible. Like, there's a lot of thematic stuff going on, and it's a lot more apparent in the manga. The manga does not hold back on Bandit Keith, let me tell you. But he's happy. He's one step closer to saving his sister. But now the semifinals are Jonichi versus Yugi. But he says for him that felt like a final battle. And in many ways it does to the reader as well. Especially the way I talked about it in the last review. I said it really felt like this is the battle where he truly becomes a great duelist. Not just a good duelist, but a great duelist. Where it wasn't chance that won him that duel. It wasn't, he didn't really have any big rookie misplays, like his duel with Bones, where he still won without his friends there. But he says it felt like the final battle. And unlike the anime, he looks at Yugi, and he says, "Look, Yugi, I really don't think I'm on par with you yet. And even if I did think I could beat you, I don't think I can beat Pegasus. I'm still relatively new. He's the creator of the game, and he has magic mind-reading powers that he flaunted in front of us, which was a very bad strategic move. So Yugi, you go ahead. I am gonna forfeit." And Yugi's like, "Hey, if I win, I'm paying for your sister's operation, dude." This feels like a narrative mistake. The anime gives us that battle between Joey and Yugi, and the manga should have done it as well. It kind of looks, it's not this way, but it kind of looks like Jonichi's giving up on his sister. He's like, "Oh, I can't win. What's the point of him coming all this way if he just gives up the final battle? What's the point?" Also, a duel against Yugi? Like, let's not sit here and pretend that the readers don't want to see it, you know? But also, thematically, I thought it made a lot of sense. How they were like showing their hearts to each other through the duel, and they were like, we're both putting a lot on the line, but we can still duel as friends, and etc. I thought it actually laid out a lot of the themes of the show very well in the anime. Plus, of course, they needed to extend runtime and show more duels. In the anime, I get that, but not having a Jonichi versus Yugi duel feels like a mistake. I can see the argument for the way it went down in the manga, for sure. Oh no, for sure. But once again, it feels like a narrative mistake. It really does. Also, I want to say, Bandit Keith's cheating is not revealed to our main characters. They don't figure out that he cheated. It's not revealed to them. It was in the anime, at least in the English dub of the anime that I've seen. I have not seen the sub. I would like to watch it one day, though. But now Pegasus has to duel them. And I think it's lame that Keith isn't shamed in front of everybody for cheating. Though Pegasus does know, Bandit Keith, seemingly maybe a little intoxicated, at least on losing, confronts Pegasus and his bodyguards in the hallway. And Bandit Keith, he's like gonna kill Pegasus, basically. He's like, Pegasus, you're gonna give me that prize money right now. I'm straight up robbing you right now, and I'm willing to kill you. Pegasus is like, aren't you like a little cheater? And he's like, oh, bitch. But then Pegasus uses his Millennium Eye to kind of warp Bandit Keith's mind and his body. And the way I understand it is Pegasus gives him a penalty game, like Yami Yugi often does, especially in the original manga before this one. Pegasus gives him a penalty game, because when you cheat in a shadow game, you basically lose. Though his battle with Joey wasn't a shadow game, but I guess what he's doing now with Pegasus is. And his hand transforms. This is actually some insane body horror. I do not blame them for redoing this for the anime. This is hardcore. Bandit Keith's hand, at least in his mind's eye, transforms into a revolver. Like you can see the revolver like coming out of his flesh. And then his hand turns on him and he blows his brains out. He finally loses Russian roulette, which we talked about in the last volume. Pegasus. Dude. The body horror. This is the darkest part of Duelist. I've read Duelist all the way through. This is dark and horrific. But now they have to duel to free Yugi's grandfather from the tiny little camera miniature TV they carry around, which they often forget is on their person, it seems like. Or at least the writer forgets. But yeah, it's time for Yugi to duel Pegasus. And they don't have the big grand arenas that they have for the anime. I think that works better in the anime. But here, in the manga, it's actually a table with little holograms, like action figure sized holograms that come up. And since they're much closer together, it's much more intimate, and there are lots of good shots with like everybody's monsters, but they're still close up. I think the smaller tables work better for the manga. I'm glad the manga didn't have the big arenas, but I'm glad the anime does. Awesome. So now it's time. It's time for Yami Yugi to duel Maximilian Pegasus. Wow. This is what we have been building up for the entirety of Duelist. They start, and as you can expect, Yami Yugi is getting his ass kicked. Maximilian Pegasus knows his moves immediately. He can read Yami Yugi's mind. He knows everything that's in his hand. He knows what plays he's going to make. He knows what traps he lays down. And he has a counter for all of them. But see, here's the thing. The Millennium Eye lets him, read minds and stuff, blah, blah, blah. And cool power makes sense. But it's a little convenient how he has a perfect exact counter set up for everything Yugi has. Like, even with the Millennium Eye being able to read minds, Pegasus still has to abide by the same luck of the draw that every duelist has. Well, every duelist except Yami Yugi, who wills the card he needs to the top of his deck because he's a cheating bastard. But hey, when you're dueling Pegasus, who is also cheating, and you're dueling for selfless reasons, like Yugi is, he's dueling to save Jonichi's sister and to save his grandpa's soul, and also to save Kaiba and Mokuba. Like, he's dueling for a lot here. A lot of people. I don't know, it's just weird how Pegasus just happens to have counters. But Pegasus also has really strong cards that were never released to the public for being too strong. See, Pegasus is a big fan of cartoons. And cartoons are also very thematically important for Pegasus's character, because he used to be a pretty good, innocent, even generous guy. But when his, this is spoilers for future volumes, when his love was taken from him, he lost a lot of his innocence. And the cartoons in his deck reflect the innocence that he lost. But it also shows that it's kind of still there. That he's not entirely corrupt. He's not entirely evil yet. The presence of the tunes shows that that childlike wonder, that artistic drive, that happiness, that goodness in Pegasus is still there. It just has to be found. And it was found in the anime. Was it found in the manga? Well, you'll just have to find out in a future volume, won't you? But yeah, Yugi is struggling with the Toon monsters, just like Kaiba was. Maybe even more. We get Toon Summon Skull sicked on him. He throws out Dark Magician and magical hats and whatnot. And, you know, Pegasus thinks that he guesses the right hat. And this is where they start to use the mind swap tactic. See, Pegasus doesn't know that Yugi is 2 minds and 2 souls. Yami Yugi makes a play, and then Rego Yugi comes out, and he doesn't know what Yami played. So when Pegasus tries to read the mind, it doesn't work. But Pegasus's mind reading also has to do with the soul. So they're not giving Pegasus time to get a good soul read to do any of this. Swapping back and forth is keeping Pegasus from reading their plays. The issue is, they don't know their plays either. They're just trusting the quote-unquote heart of the cards, aka cheating powers of the Millennium Puzzle, to give them the cards they need. Like, Yugi doesn't look at a card and, like, throws it in the spell zone, and it's like, hey, was that a spell card? Was that a trap card? Was that a field card? Is it in the right zone? If it is, uh-oh, who knows? But hey, they are starting to get the upper hand on Pegasus, or at least evening the playing field. But then, Pegasus's innocence starts to fade. He stops playing tunes. Yugi destroys them, and Pegasus isn't playing anymore. The full darkness within him is now on display. Pegasus initiates a shadow game, and Yugi's body and soul aren't used to this. They can't hold up well in the Shadow Realm. Even though the Shadow Realm isn't, you know, something yet. It's not, the Shadow Realm doesn't exist in the manga. It only exists in the English anime. That's a fun fact for you. Actually, quite factually. And I actually think, because it was used to censor death, but since people come back from death and stuff, and horrible injuries and things without explanation in Yu-Gi-Oh!, the Shadow Realm actually provides an explanation. They just got out of the Shadow Realm. So, the Shadow Realm actually makes more sense. Anyhow, this is a shadow game, regardless. That does exist in the manga. And Yugi has a hard time, because summoning the monsters and cards now requires actual energy from your body to bring them forth and sustain them. And Yugi, he's a little kid. He's having trouble with that. The Pharaoh, he's been doing this shit for thousands of years. He can figure it out. But as I said, Pegasus's darkness is now fully on display. And what does he play? The Lord of Sacrifices. Relinquished. I think he's called Sacrifice in Japan. He's called Relinquished here. Relinquished is the darkness in Pegasus's soul. He is a horrible, monstrous creature who has an eye the same as the Millennium Eye. For when Pegasus received the Millennium Eye, his soul fell into darkness. The Millennium items have a corrupting influence. Because Pegasus, even after his would-be wife died, didn't fully go to the dark side until he received the Millennium Eye. But Relinquished here also has a Millennium Eye. But Relinquished's ability to absorb others and use them as shields reflects how Pegasus uses people and sacrifices them for his own schemes, for his own motivations. Relinquished is a mirror of the current monster that Pegasus has become. His tunes are gone, and all that's left is a monster that uses people. Yu-Gi-Oh's deeper than you thought, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. These actually mean something. Very cool. So they continue their battle. You know, Pegasus plays like a bomb monster, and Yugi is drawing his cards, but he can't swap with regular Yugi anymore. Pegasus can read his mind. But what's this? Bakura, Junichi, Anzu, Honda. Anzu is Taya and Honda is Tristan. And even the other Yugi. They're all there, blocking the card. Is this cliche power of friendship bullshit? Yes. Does it make thematic sense for Yu-Gi-Oh? Obviously. Is it an ass pool? It kind of feels like it. But once again, it's in line with the themes and in line with how characters often obtain victory in Yu-Gi-Oh! Via friendship. I think, personally, that it's fine. It's fine. Anyway, Yugi uses brain control, snatches that big ol' Relinquished, just totally gets rid of him to summon the Magician of Black Chaos. Yet another ritual monster. This kind of a more spellcastery version of the Blackluster Soldier, if I remember card lore correctly. I like card lore videos, but I might be wrong. To be completely honest, I think this is more like a darker version of Dark Magician or something. I think they're all the same guy, technically, just two took different paths. If you remember the lore for this magician, feel free to remind me. Not that it really matters. Anyway, Yugi whips out Karibo, his most useful monster, full stop. Most people don't play Karibo, they just sacrifice it from their hand. But yeah, Karibo is a legit card. But people always call it the weakest card in the game, even though it has an incredible ability. But the thing is, it's not the weakest card in the game. There's a card called Thousand Eyes Idol, right? 0 attack, 0 defense, no ability. This card exists solely for the purpose to fuse it with Relinquished and create Thousand Eyes Restrict. Now, it's called the Evil God of 1,000 Sacrifices here, which I think is more akin to its Japanese name. But this is an even better Relinquished. Actually, Thousand Eyes Restrict, I think, to this day is still like one of the best fusion monsters in the game. He's hella banned. There's a ton of strategies with Thousand Eyes Restrict that just absolutely the fuck. But Yugi, with his Karibo multiply bullshit that he pulled on Kaiba, is also able to defeat Thousand Eyes Restrict, even quicker than he defeated Relinquished. But I guess he kind of knew what was coming a bit more here. And Yugi does it. He defeats Maximilian Pegasus. All in the span of a single volume. How about that, huh? A lot of duels are split. This one was not. Very interesting. But yeah, Pegasus is not happy about it. Everyone's celebrating. And Grandpa's soul is, of course, released, as is Seto Kaiba's and Mokuba's. All their souls are released and returned back to their vessels. And they kind of learn Pegasus's backstory here. He grew up immensely wealthy, so, already I don't feel bad for him, but you do end up feeling bad for him. He grew up wealthy. He wasn't the one doing all the evil wealth stuff yet. But he met this woman when they were kids. Absolutely just fell in love immediately. Cynthia is her name in the manga. I feel like it's Cynthia or something in the anime, something slightly different. But it's Cynthia here. They fall in love at 14. And at 17, she dies of illness. And it's not in the manga, but I have to mention this in the anime. It's like one of my favorite shots in the anime, actually. They're standing like at the altar in church, and she is consumed by rose petals, which then blow like up and dissipate. And I thought that was like a really beautiful way to show his flower being taken from him, his love being taken from him. I just thought it was a beautiful image in the anime. It's not here. You just see her kind of laying in a coffin. And yes, it is a coffin, not a casket. I was in rotation. But then we see him just traveling the world, And he's not really trying super hard to resurrect her. He really doesn't think that is a thing he can do yet, obviously. But he goes to Egypt. He's looking for a muse, really. He was a painter. She inspired him to paint, and he's looking for a purpose that will give him a reason to fill a canvas again. And when he sees someone stealing the Millennium Ring, he follows Shadi back to kind of a secret pharaoh tomb place where the Millennium items are held in secret. And Shadi uses the Millennium Eye on the bandit. The eye rejects the bandit and lights him ablaze, basically sends him to hell. But then Shadi does the same thing to Pegasus, because he followed them, and he has to be tested by the eye. He either has to be executed or is one of the chosen ones and can't be executed, because he knows where this important religious site is. But the eye accepts Pegasus. He is fated to have it, and it replaces his own left eye. It looks incredibly painful, but it allows him to see the soul of his love and makes him believe that if he gets all of the Millennium items, he will have the power to bring her back. And he just might be correct. We find it out way, way, way later. But when you gather all the Millennium items and you put them back in the original stone that they come from, and you say the name of the pharaoh out loud, which has been lost to time and intentionally erased from people's memories, including the memories of dead souls, you say the name aloud, you can open a door to the afterlife if you then prove yourself worthy. Maybe he could have brought her back to life. I'm not sure there would have been a vessel for her soul to go to. It is possible that he could have done it. I don't know. It's magic mumbo-jumbo. Anything's possible, but also they could come up with an excuse so that anything doesn't work as well. But a really beautiful moment in this book is when Seto Kaiba awakes after his soul is reunited with his body. He awakes in his jail cell. He's set free, and he sees this ghost-like version of himself as a small child. And he follows it to Mokuba. You see, back, not during their last duel, but the one before, Yami, for his penalty game, shattered Kaiba's soul and put him in a coma. And Kaiba could only awake from that coma if he took his soul and rebuilt it. Kaiba had become corrupted thanks to the non-stop evil abuse of his stepfather. His stepfather wanted to make him evil because being evil makes you a good businessman. Which I guess is mostly true. I mean, you get rich by hurting people, and that's evil, right? So, Seto kind of rebuilds his soul, but he builds it back better. He still has a chip on his shoulder, he still has an edge. But the final piece of his soul that he was missing was his relationship with Mokuba. After his stepfather's abuse, he had forgotten what it was like to love his brother. Forgotten what it was like to be loved. Mokuba even started acting evil in an attempt to impress Seto. Mokuba tried to kill people. But Seto, it seems like he's finally, at least largely, back to being himself. He's pushed a lot of the trauma forced upon him, a lot of the darkness to the side. In the anime, it was much simpler. He was just possessed by like an evil spirit, and Yugi banished the evil. Whatever. Whatever, dude. It's a bit more complex here. Doesn't make as much sense, but I think it's more meaningful here in the manga. But it turns out there was another duel. One that happened afterwards. Between Bakura and Pegasus. And Pegasus lost. And Bakura rips the Millennium Eye from Pegasus's head and leaves him sitting dead at the table. Maximilian Pegasus in the manga, unlike the anime, is not able to move on. He's not able to rid himself of that darkness and put it aside because he doesn't survive the removal of the Millennium Eye. Maximilian Pegasus is dead. And yeah, he was kind of sympathetic. But at the same time, these dark powers typically don't leave you alive when you fuck with them. And it's a gory page. There's a horrific panel, because it comes kind of out of nowhere. You see, like, you're on a page with the Yugis talking to each other, and then you turn the page, and the first half of the page is Pegasus slumped to the side, dead, a big hole where his eye was, and gore spewing out of it. Oh my god, and Bakura, like, licks some of the blood and gore off the Millennium Eye. It's disgusting. Like, it's nasty. Huh. But that is it for the Duelist Kingdom arc. It ends here. They get a ride back with Kaiba. There's a Master of the Cards segment in the back that compares the cards to, like, the anime and stuff. And yeah, it's a good volume. Did I like 7 more? Yeah, but I think this was a worthwhile conclusion to the arc. So that was it for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Volume 8, Yugi versus Pegasus by Kazuki Takahashi. Thank you all very much for your support. Please remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Next up, we get into Dungeon Dice Friggin' Monsters as a break between this and Battle City. And Battle City is one of my favorites. Like, Battle City is my favorite in the manga and in the anime. I love it so much. And the rules kind of become a bit more concrete. We get a lot of cool lore. And of course, we get the iconic Egyptian god cards. Wow. So that's it. Thank you all very much for your support. And I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.